Hi everyone, welcome to this leaders guide. Today we're talking about Ilesa Ecaz. Ilesa Ecaz is one of the harder leaders to play in Dune Imperium, and its pick rate shows she's not a very popular leader. However, its win rate currently is pretty high at around 35%. So why aren't people playing her? Well, I think she doesn't do things that other leaders do, like the conventionally strong leaders in terms of faction access and whatnot, and she is harder to play, so much so that her passive feels like a handicap, and I think that it deters people from playing her. But her win rate is good, and I feel whenever I play her, I feel very strong. So I think she is very good. So let me just talk a little bit about Ilesa Ecaz. Ilesa Ecaz has a Signet Ring, which is Guild Contracts. She pays 1 Solari and draws a full space card. A full space card is a card that allows you to go to anywhere on the board and allows you to draw a card, but reveals for no persuasion. And her passive is 1 step ahead, where you get to set aside a card from your hand at the start of the round, and if, on your second turn, if you use that card, you can either get a Spice or Solari, depending on what card you put down. So I'll first talk about why I like Ilesa. So I used to like the Beast, and the reason I like the Beast is not really so much for his Signet Ring. Whenever I played the Beast, right, my game revolved around this extra Spice or Solari. This extra Spice or this extra Solari would grant me the resources I needed to either get attack earlier or get Sword Master earlier. And so this is the main reasons why I like to play the Beast. Sure, the ring is very strong, but I found myself gravitating towards just the Spice and the Solari. So when I looked at Ecaz, Ilesa Ecaz, I thought that over the course of the game, I also can get more Spice and more Solari, right? And that's how I looked at Ilesa Ecaz. Sure, there is some play pattern you need, right, to get the Spice and this Solari, but overall you can get it. So let's talk about Ilesa in more specific. So Ilesa Ecaz is a resource-rich leader, right? So she can get Spice and Solari across the game through her passive, right? And 1 Spice and 1 Solari is Beast passive. She can get it by round 2. I understand that getting it earlier is better, but over the course of the game, she can really get a lot of resources. So what do early resources mean? Early resources translate into higher quicker early game objectives. So with the extra Solari, you can get Sword Master quicker. With the extra Spice, you can get 6 costed attacks earlier and easier than a lot of other players. Okay, so other reason I like her is because she is not married to her Signet Ring. Okay, her Signet Ring is like one of those that is not very good early in the game, because you do not want to spend your Solari. And what happens is that if you're not required to use a Signet Ring, it generally leads to higher persuasion bias, or a lot more flexibility. So let me just show you an example, right? So let's say you're starting card of 10. Let's say most leaders will like to play their Signet Ring, right? And then your total hand is at 6 persuasion. If you don't play a Signet Ring, what happens is that you can play additional dagger, right? And if you play the additional dagger, you actually net already have like 1 persuasion from not playing a Signet Ring, so you have 7. Then the dagger can often turn into 1 more persuasion through wealth or through tech negotiators. So overall, this is very strong, as you get to 8 persuasion instead of 6 persuasion between round 1 and round 2. I like Ilesa Ecaz. You are resource rich, and then you eventually convert those resources into early game objectives. And even though you have a bad Signet Ring, I don't think having a bad Signet Ring is bad. I think if your overall leader power is good, right, this bad Signet Ring would just generally lead into higher persuasion bias. Okay, secrets to Ilesa. So we talked about the Signet Ring, and just let me iterate. The Signet Ring is a trap. You can play Ilesa Ecaz and not use a Signet Ring at all, and that's how I advise you to play her, at least for the start. Like you don't want to be spending your Solari on full space early in the game. Generally, you want to use your ring after you get Swordmaster, assuming you have enough Solari for your other objectives, like Mentat or High Council. But overall, the signal ring is a trap. Don't use it. So the next you want to talk about is a passive. So a passive allows you to set aside a card, and because if it has one agent icon, you get a spice, and you have more than one or less or not one, right? So you can set aside a convincing also. But once again, convincing arguments have no access, so you don't set it aside. And because of that, also we don't need to think about it. So let's go past convincing arguments. Next, we have experimentations. Experimentations, right? They have. Okay, so the issue about playing experimentation second, right? Let's talk about the spice spots. So with regard to the spice spots, right? Normally when they build up spice, they are good, right? So when they are +2, it is good. When it's +1, it's pretty average, right? Except Imperial Basin. Imperial Basin, I think when it's +1 now with experimentation, I think it's pretty okay. So the thing about it is that when the spice is at that point, it's very rare that it comes around to you as second your second action, unless you have the control of water. So most of the time you're not playing your experimentations to go to a spice spot. And furthermore, right, the smuggling spot is super competitive early in the game, and interstellar shipping is like priority 1 for anyone who has access to it. So unless you're the only person with interstellar shipping access, playing an experimentation to go to interstellar shipping is something that probably won't be possible. Yeah. So as such, experimentations are not something that you put face down as your second action a lot. So let's talk about blue access. So city access. So city access, first we'll talk about Arrakeen. Arrakeen is a low priority spot as your second action. If you have two actions, if you're going Arrakeen, you're going Arrakeen as your first action. Unless like all the city spaces are blocked, right? So you go to Arrakeen as your first action so that you can play your second action more efficiently. Right? You know how much persuasion you have like better access because you have drawn one more card. So as such, you don't really want to go Arrakeen as your second action. Then there's Kartek. So Kartek is like somewhere where if you have city access and you want to go, if you need to play a city access and you want to go somewhere, this is most often the spot that people want to go to. The early trade is a lot better than drawing a card early in the game.
They should this step.
Because of how random your first few hands are, right? A lot of times if players do not have good faction access, right, or do not draw their faction access, and they don't draw their faction access like 40% of the time, right, they will choose to go to Kartek. So it's because that Kartek is quite a competitive spot as well, so it's hard to go to. But still, you're still able to go there, second action, especially if you're in early positions. So finally, there's research station. So research station requires you to go to still suits, and then you can go to research station. It's very good to take this line of play to get some good Talixuro cards, and I've listed some of them out here. So we have Pyther Genius Advisor, we have Stitch Horror, and we have Guild Impersonator. All of these are insanely good for Ilesa, and if you have the opportunity based on your starting hand, right, you should consider this line. This line of play is very, very good. Next card we'll talk about is the daggers. So daggers are cards that when you put on second action you get a spice. So it increases the value of the green spaces a lot, especially if you can get a spice with it. So first of all, we'll talk about Mentat. So in order to go to Mentat, you have to go to Well first, then go to Mentat. In general, this priority is not very high except for a few leaders. So Armani Cass, Ilban, Lito, and Princess Yuna. So if there are these leaders in the game, they would be looking at going to Wealth. But if they are not in the game, like generally Wealth is available. And if Wealth is available, Mentat is available because no one else really has 2 Solari. Barring some strange circumstances. So I really like this line, and what else you can do, right? Let's say if you can go to Wealth, and you can also go to Tech Negotiator. So Tech Negotiator provides you the highest high roll potential. So it can be equivalent of getting like 2 spice, because the tech discount is equivalent to 1 spice in game sense. Like, it might not be spice that you can use for everything else, but it is spice that you can use for techs, right? And it also gives you 1 persuasion, convert 0 into 1 persuasion. You can buy some of the very good 2-costed techs, things like memo quarters, mimic film, and wind traps. So if you can take this line and grab any of these techs, it is very strong. And finally, because dreadnoughts are quite resource intensive, both on the Solari sense to buy the dreadnought, and the spy sense to buy the techs, this space actually is not bad for Ilesa, because you are hardly blocked when you go there. The thing is, you need more resources, but Ilesa is one of the leaders which generally have resources. So next, we'll talk about the faction access. So faction access overall, gets you a Solari, very safe to play as your second action. And signaling is actually also gets you a Solari, but it's not as great as faction access in terms of like your second action. A lot of times, if you're playing signaling down as your second action, it implies that your hand is very bad and requires some flexibility for it to be salvageable in late, and probably you're in a late position. So we'll talk about the lines of play. So with regards to the lines of play, there's the green line. I talked about it just now. So you can go to Wealth and go to Tech Negotiator. So this is like probably one of the highest, one of your high roll potentials. You can pick up the like mimic film, wind traps, and memo quarters. Yeah, you can pick up those 2-cost attacks. It's very good, this line of play. So I advise going to Wealth and going to Tech Negotiator, because if you're blocked on Tech Negotiator, you can always go to Mentat and still get the spice benefit, and then you can always play your last card. So your last card, let's say ideally you want to play if you have both faction access, you'll play other faction access. So this is one of the very good lines of play. So the other good line of play, you can go to the Still Suits with Seek Allies, and I advise this to only be with Seek Allies. If you have your Diplomacy in your deck, right? If you play your Diplomacy and have your Seek Allies in your deck, the probability of you missing these 2 card draws is very, very high, and I don't think it's a worthwhile line, unless you guarantee yourself to the target 2 cards. So you can go to Still Suits, then go to Research Station. In addition to going to Research Station, you get 1 spice as well, so it makes it better. All leaders can play this line, but for Ilesa it's better. And finally, you can go to a Swordmaster line round 2. So what you need to do is to get smuggling. So you need to be in position 2 or 3, ideally position 2. Sometimes you can do it in position 3 based on the leaders that are picked. Like if you know that they want to go to like full space or some equivalent of that nature, right? You can consider it in position 3 and based on your hand. But a lot of times you need to be in position 2 to do this. So you go to smuggling and then you play either your Seek Allies Diplomacy or Signet Ring second. This gets you an extra Solari, allows you to smuggle again round 2, and then place a dagger down to get your Swordmaster round 2. So the last secret of Ilesa I want to talk about is grafting. So grafting is a new mechanic introduced in Immortality. So your agent turn, you can play 2 cards instead of 1 if one of them has graft. So you treat the 2 cards you play as 1 card. So some of the stronger ones I put here: Face Dancer, Guild Impersonator, Siege Horror, and Tonic Infiltrator. Right, these are very good. And when you put a graft card down as your 1 step ahead second card, right? You're given a lot of flexibility. So let's say if you play these graph cards, like so you play Guild Impersonator, Stitch Horror, and Toxic Infiltrator, no matter what card you graft it to, you always get the spice. Or let's say if you have Face Dancer in your hand, you can always play down an Experimentation, and then when you reveal Experimentation, you can graft it to Face Dancer, and then you have like a whole lot of possibilities where you can send your card and still get the spice bonus. Right? So graph enables you to get 1 step ahead or very reliably, and any of these cards are very good for Ilesa. I think that they are way better on Ilesa than other leaders because of these additional resources you generate. So one of the key cards of Ilesa is Guild Impersonator. Guild Impersonator is B to C tier for most other leaders, but for Ilesa Ecaz it is SS tier. an SS tier plus, because you always, if you play your Guild Persona as your second action, so like you put it face down, whenever you reveal it and play it, right, you always get a spice, and because you get the spice, you get the faction bump as well. So this allows you to do really insane things. Let's you go like to a just go to full space, you get a double faction bump, and it's very cheap and very powerful. And for two costed card that is so much better on you than any other leaders, I think it's something that you should always think about buying. So those are the secrets to Ilesa Ecaz. And you'll need a lot of plays to really get comfortable with her. But let me talk about how you should think about your hand. I think being able to think about your hand properly allows you to play all leaders well. But I think Ilesa Ecaz kind of forces you to take that mentality and to apply it. Right? It forces you to think about your hand properly. So this is something that you can do for all leaders, and I think you should do for all leaders, right? Is that you should always think about your hand in its entirety. I have two actions. What two actions am I gonna do? I have three actions. What three actions do I want to do? Right? I want to. This is highest priority because it's gonna get blocked, or this is highest priority because I need to play this card. So it allows you to think of your hand very effectively. So we'll just run through a few examples. Yeah, so we'll run through a few examples, right? And in these examples, we'll mainly focus on your starting tank cards, and we'll take that and apply that to the rest of the game. So let's say if your opening hand is dagger, experimentation. So what would you choose to do? Your daggers can go to tech negotiator. Your experimentations can go to draws like harvest spice, or to get to smuggling, right? So which is more likely gonna get blocked? Most likely the ones getting blocked is tech negotiator, right? Because there's one option on tech negotiator, and then there's three options of collecting, like three options of this yellow triangle. So you put down your experimentation. So there's some unless you're in like first position, or you know that you can get it in second position, then you probably go to like put down then after that it's a bit of a toss-up, because your first action can go to smuggling as well. So I'll still put down the experimentation either way, and if smuggling is left open to me, I will definitely take smuggling. So I think one thing you consider is which line is going to get blocked. So if you know which line is going to get blocked, then you just play around it. You go to the space that's going to be blocked first, right? And this is for, most leaders also. You want to know like which spaces are going to get blocked, or which spaces do other leaders want to take as well. Okay, so the next thing you want to think about is let's say if I look at this hand, I have convincing, a dagger, diplomacy, experimentation, and a gurney. So if I look at this hand and then I ask you which cards you want to play, you obviously gravitate towards diplomacy and the gurney. Diplomacy is a faction access card, and faction access card, whenever you play it, you get equivalent of half a point. And gurney flag is one card that is so much more powerful on play rather than on reveal. So as such, you want to play both gurney and diplomacy. And if you're choosing between the two, which will you play first? I would definitely play gurney first. So you will want to think about the cards that you want to play, and ideally you want to draw first. You want to draw first because that shapes how you want to play out your second action, right? When you draw second, you are kind of fishing for something, and most of the time it will hurt you, like when you draw as your last action. So you play gurney first, you draw the extra card, maybe you draw a few cards, and then after that you play your diplomacy. So there's some reasons where you want to play gurney second. Let's say you want to deploy to combat late, but I think the general principle is that you want to think about what cards you want to play, and if you can, you draw first. Just a general principle. So you also want to think about what cards you want to review. Let's say if I have like convincing in the shadows, diplomacy, twilight master, experimentation. Well, if you look at this hand, maybe you think you already won the game, but if you look at this hand, you want to play in the shadows, or you want to reveal in the shadows, and you want to reveal Twilight Master. In that case, the cards you want to play are your diplomacy and experimentations. So you have already identified that. So by eliminating those cards, you want to reveal. So between the two, experimentation and diplomacy, which of the cards you want to play first. You want to play the experimentation first because of what I listed up above. The experimentation is not good as your second action, but as your first action it still gets you decent value. Then you want to play your diplomacy second because there's a lot of flexibility there, and if you generally go to any spot, you get good value. Okay, so when it comes to this hand, right, this hand you actually can play out any way you want. You can get the Solari, you can get Spice, you have flexibility to all the spaces on the board. One thing I like you to remember is that Spice is better most of the time. So 90% of the time, like, Spice is better. So if there's an opportunity for you to get Spice reliably, do take that line. Spice will turn into points. It might not be clear how it turns into points, but it does turn into points. Whereas Solari turns into early game objectives, right? So do think about these two options. If you can, always take Spice. So I just told you about taking Spice. However, right, let's say late in the game, let's say if it's like round 6 already, what should you be prioritizing? If it's round 6 already, what you should be prioritizing? You should be prioritizing your actions over your late game resources. So one Spice, one Solari is very powerful between round 1 to 4. But when it comes to round 5, round 6, right, the action you play is so much more impactful than this one Spice and one Solari. So late in the game, always prioritize your actions, right? Don't let your passive be a handicap to you, right? If you can, obviously you want to align everything, but prioritize your actions late in the game. Don't be forced to play the card that you put down. So there are a lot of other things that you want to consider. You want to identify your high priority spaces. You want to identify opponents' high priority spaces, and then you also want to assess combat. So I will talk a little bit about your own high priority spaces, but let's say if you're talking about opponents, right, then you also can consider like how much resources they have, and if they have those resources, then certain spaces become of high priority to them. So if they have the spacing friendship, they can go interstellar, so you should always note that. So one player, if he has spacing friendship, he's always going to interstellar. Or if there are two players with spacing friendship, one of them is always going interstellar first action. If someone has 2 Spice, they can go selective breeding. If someone has 6 Spice, they can go highliner. If someone has 2 water, they can go research station. If someone has 2 Solari, they can go mentat. Right? So if they have the resources, they generally want to spend it. So these spaces will get more contested. So do note that. So also plan your the high priority spaces based on what objectives that people want. So if someone has 8 Solari, and multiple people have 8 Solari, someone is definitely going to Swordmaster first. So you know that one of the spaces is not going to be good. Like one of the spaces will be Swordmaster that someone goes to. If there's a +2 Spice build up, generally someone wants to go there as well. So you cannot depend on going there as your second action. And if it's a combat VP, right, then highliner and hardy warriors are some things that are very contested. So if you are planning to go there as your second action, when it's a combat VP, it's highly unlikely you can go there. So with combats, there's a lot of things you want to think about. You want to ask yourself, can I win cheaply, and do I need to win this combat to win the game? I think there's a lot of other things to consider when talking about combats, but I cannot go into it in this video. I think it'll be too long. So, but you should always think about whatever combat card is revealed, or like what are the rewards, and also think about how players will play because of the combat card. So normally, like, it's like Battle for Imperial Base and people go crazy about it. So know that that's how it shapes around as well. So overall, I really like Ilesa Ecaz. Ilesa Ecaz, when the time I did this slide, it has a 41% win rate. I think now it has like a 35% win rate. Still less than 30 games played, but I think when I looked at the Water of Life stats, like, Ilesa Ecaz is doing pretty well. In the last 2 games that I saw yesterday, I think Eric won a game and Cheryl won a game with Ilesa Ecaz back to back. So she is, like, Ilesa Ecaz is very good, and I don't really want more people to play her. I like her to be like something that I play. But I think we have some players on the Discord who have recognized how powerful she is. Players like Morphling, players like Kurt Russell in the Stars, right? Have been playing her a lot, so she's not just a leader on my YouTube channel anymore. So if you're interested, go and do play her. She's very, very good, and hopefully this leader guide helped. And if you have any questions, you can leave in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. But you do need some repetitions of Ilesa to get comfortable with her. I don't think it's hard, but it can feel very stressful putting down a card down, like committing to a card. So just play her more, and if in doubt, put a dagger face down. So I hope this guide helped, and thanks for watching. Hey, so a little postscript. Sorry, my sinus in the morning is very bad, but I don't have any other time to edit and post videos. I currently wake up at 4 a.m. and I think now it's 6:30 for me to kind of do all this work in order to push these videos up. So pardon my sinus. I just cannot get rid of it in the morning, and then in the afternoon I don't have time to record. So I hope it's okay in that sense. And I do hope that if these videos help, do help to like, comment, and subscribe to the videos. I think it does help a lot. One other thing is that I also launched a Patreon. I posted it in the What Did Melee videos, but I didn't really talk about it. I think I know that I don't have the resources to continue to push this channel at this rate, and I do need some resources or some light at the end of the tunnel if I want to push the channel at this rate. I will still continue to work on it. Just I think the amount of resources I put into it will just have to vary. But if you do like this channel and you do want to support it, I'll post a link to the Patreon in the comments or in the description, and just check it out. I don't have any rewards, but I think a lot of things that I do, I try to be inclusive, and I think we can always think about it. I'm always very for new ideas, and I think we always try to be on the ball and try to just run tournaments which we think are good, do things which we collect stats because there's option there. So a lot of these things very guerrilla style, very on the ball. So I think through the Patreon we can discuss some things that we think are beneficial for the community or beneficial for the Patreon users. So do check it out. Last thing is the What Did Melee registration is up this Saturday. I'll post a link to that in the comments below as well. So thanks for watching. See you around.